Hello, and welcome to the Facing the Gates podcast. My name is Bailey.
My name is Michael.
And my name is David.
And my name is Bailey.
And my name is Michael.
My name is David.
And we're just going to keep doing this. This is stupid. This is a dumb bit. All right, anyway. So last week, we talked about the paranormal and whether or not ghosts exist and the implications of that. And basically, I am a paranormal investigator, and I told you about my escapades as a ghost hunter and whatnot. And then, I know David was like, yeah, I don't believe it because I haven't experienced it. What was your conclusion?
I believe in ghosts, and I want to fuck with ghosts. Like, I want to hang out with a ghost.
Okay.
Like, I'm down for some, like, Ouija board shit.
Did we ever, like, come to conclusions about, like, how, like, the argument went? Like, if you believe in the paranormal, that might lead to a supernatural being of sorts, like a god.
Yeah.
As like, so like you agree with that, basically.
Yeah, that's something we kind of all agree on.
We all agree on it. Okay, cool.
Which, when David finds a ghost, he's no longer a filthy atheist, and we got to find another atheist.
Yeah, that's his opening. We gotta just take him on a ghost hunt.
Yeah, and then we got to find another atheist to sit in his seat.
So you know my luck, nothing would happen.
Yeah.
And you're just like something was supposed to happen.
Now, me and Bailey just have, like, the most vivid, mind-breaking moment.
Uh-huh.
And David's just like, I don't get it, guys. I just took acid before this, and I think y'all might have drank out my bottle.
Yeah, one thing I didn't really push you on before we get into this week's episode, actual topic. I didn't really push you because you said, like, well, it's only I don't, because you said, I said, how do you explain the evidence that we've collected? And you said, well, since I haven't experienced it, I don't believe in it regarding the paranormal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if you applied that logic to anything else in life, you'd probably be in trouble. Because there's a lot of things that you don't experience, but you take as true.
Like true happiness.
That does not exist.
So, I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit faulty logic there for reasoning there. Also, we've got a puppy in the room we're paying attention to. If you hear
any
things
weird
falling
noises
apart,
like that.
I don't know if that's picking up on the mic. She's playing with a plastic container right now.
Yeah.
So
her water dish.
So if this one is scuff, we all apologize.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's bad.
Gotta love when you rescue a pupper.
Really unprofessional podcast. But do you have any thoughts on that before we move on, or?
Yeah, not really right now. My brain's been dead from taking care of said pupper.
Okay.
I did not expect having a little pupper, but
So do driver's license exist?
yes.
But you've never experienced one.
I don't know. I've experienced yours and held yours. I have a permit.
Yeah, but it's not yours. It's not an experience for you.
David, you're conscious. You don't experience it.
Yeah, but weapon of consciousness is just made up and I have no control over everything.
Then there's something else that's in control. There's some higher power there.
Weapon, there's no higher power. And this is just like a freak experience.
What, you mean like a simulation, which would require a higher power?
No.
AKA
Not
a processor.
Not a simulation, but just kind of like unordered chaos that somehow has
Unordered
had this
chaos.
happen.
That is, that's a contradiction in terms.
Yeah, like, bro.
Well,
How could it be unordered chaos, David?
That's a double negative if you said unordered.
you know what I mean. Just like something like a super chaotic happening. That
I
somehow
kind of know
led
what you
to
mean,
this.
but like it doesn't
bro,
make sense.
You're stretching these walls too far. The roof ain't gonna stay
All
up.
right, well,
much
we're going to talk
longer.
about something else. We'll
Yeah.
this is a tangent. This week, this has been like 5 minutes. Anyway, we're going to talk about love and beauty. You know, we know all these things, what they are, and the meaning of life and such. So these are two separate arguments for God's existence, but we're kind of going to discuss them each individually in the same episode because they're kind of smaller things to talk about, I think, compared to the other, like, origins of the universe. So regarding the first half of that, love, why do we experience love? why do we perceive beauty? Well, actually, this is just for the episode as a whole. Why do we experience love? Why do we perceive beauty? Why are these two things unique to the human experience, and what could that mean for our existence? So, regarding love, what exactly is love? We can agree that it is an intuition, but is that intuition reducible to a chemical reaction in the brain, or is there something more existential about our experience of love? So I wanted to turn that over to you guys and see what you thought. What do you think love is, Michael?
Dude, I don't fucking know. I don't know how to explain.
Well, it depends on the type of love.
Like romantic love.
Like-
I mean, well, that's true. There are different types.
When
If I'm friends with someone and I want to bang them, am I in love with them? No, I just want to.
Well, if you want to, I think you might be confused if that's the case. But
yeah, there's a difference between
yes, you're right. There's like romantic love, family love, friendly love,
and like for
just
example,
general
a mom
like
with
acquaintance love.
a mom with their child, or say also seeing like a human taking care of their dog or their puppy, releases oxytocin, which is the bond, kind of what's known as like the bonding chemical.
yeah.
And then kind of romantic love releases different chemicals, and some can actually have like a light opiate kind of effect. With like, that's why some people, when they kind of get those butterflies in the stomach, a little bit nauseous.
Yeah, I would say obviously it's a very complex emotion, but it involves other emotions. It's not just one thing. I guess this definition would probably relate more to like romantic love, because like while animals might appear to have some degree of emotion, they don't experience that to the same level that humans do.
I mean, and like some animals do experience at least somewhat what we would consider love. Like for example, guinea pigs, when they bond, when one dies, the other goes, because they can't stand living without the other one. And there has been like monogamous animals that bond for life.
Dude, I'd rather be like a non-monogamous animal if I'm going to be a fucking animal. But I think the reason that love in humans makes sense is, have you ever seen a fucking baby?
Yeah, they all look like potatoes.
Dude, if I set that thing on the ground, that fucker's going to die.
Yeah.
Like, he can't communicate. He can't pick himself up and walk. So you need more than one person to make a whole baby thing work, because back when humans started, someone needed to take care of the baby, because you leave that fucker alone, is dead.
I mean, that also...
And you need someone to go get the food.
I mean, that also happens with other animals, like daddy penguins, mommy penguins, stuff like that.
Yeah, but at least those little fuckers can move.
Yeah, but...
A human baby can't even crawl.
But they also want to stand a chance on their own.
They'd stand a better chance than a fucking human baby.
Well, true. They'll last a few days, where the baby might just get picking up and ate.
Wow.
Babies?
This took a dark turn.
Yeah. So, I mean, love is it's chemicals, it's survival, it's possible something greater.
Regardless, it's very beneficial for us.
I don't know, that shit gets a little crazy sometimes.
As the human race surviving. At least from the basis of it. Nowadays, we have cultural problems and whatnot that are caused by people kind of not knowing when to drop out of certain loves.
Well, I mean, you ever looked at like a very attractive person and like in your head you just thinking all the possible scenarios?
All the possible scenarios.
Like, you know.
Well, let's play devil's advocate here, and let's say
there,
I don't know what you're talking about.
You go up and talk. You're imagining you go up and talk to this person, man or woman, it doesn't matter, because they're fucking attractive, and you imagine that you hit everything off, and like what being with them would be like.
Where are you going with this, Michael?
Since you fucking, oh my god, I mean, but love is. I was trying to tie that into love is not always a good thing in the modern day human condition.
Right.
I've seen some people fall in love at a strip club. They'll come back thinking
is that love though? Is that real love, or is that just lust?
at that moment to them that's real love. But it's
But if we're judging from like a third party that's non-biased here, were they actually
but
in
can
love?
the third party feel the love? Because two people can be
Well,
together.
you should be able to see that by the way they act.
Not necessarily.
Bullshit. I know people who look like they fucking hate each other. I love the fuck out of each other. I know people who look like they love the fuck out of each other that are getting a divorce.
All right, fine,
Yeah.
fine, you win. All right.
Love is just so complex.
No,
Yeah, it is.
that's also one thing, differentiating between love and lust.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, in my eyes, lust is something immediate, very quick, just almost spontaneous. Then it can fall into unrequited love and whatnot. But love is something that just kind of, it has that kind of moment of lust, but then it just builds and goes kind of slowly into, like, okay, yeah, I could spend the rest of my life with this person at one point.
Bro, that's a part of love that terrifies me.
What do you mean?
As awesome as it is to be able to spend your life with just one person, it's like, I might get bored of you. Like, or you might start to annoy me, or anything like that. And that's the scary part. It's like just this one person for the big haul.
See, I thought you were
Well-
about to run into the complacency kind of idea.
I don't know. I'm
Well,
a
I mean,
complacent
like-
motherfucker.
I don't know. Maybe this is gonna be like probably too deep for my own psyche. This is gonna be real more about me than it will you
Well,
probably.
just projecting.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, like, if you're really in love with someone, doesn't matter. Like, if you're with someone for X amount of time, after a certain point, like, you're just not gonna give up. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. There's still possibility for shitty things to be done to one another.
There always is.
And there's always a good reason to just get up and run to the hills.
But in my mind, if you've invested enough and, you've gotten to a point where you can work things out, why not just do that?
But do you know future you that would work those things out?
Well, and also with that, it depends because
It does depend on a lot of... It depends
yeah,
on the people
because
and
I mean,
the situation
if
and everything.
the person
but,
you're thinking about is a sleazebag and gonna pull the same shit over and over and over again,
well,
it ain't
yeah,
worth it.
That's...
But if it's like one small mistake, nothing major. If there's a major mistake, fuck that. Get out of town.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're talking about, like, dating, and this is probably, like, a sidebar, but, like...
Yeah,
like if you bust
would,
a nut in a hooker, that's a no-go. You gotta fucking go.
yeah,
Yeah.
dating.
But I think you would know, like, within a couple years or so, like,
Yeah.
the certain patterns and attitudes and behaviors of another person.
and by that point, you should, if you believe in marriage or not, you should decide upon a point like, yeah, this ain't gonna be long term, or this ain't it, or
Yeah, I mean,
this
the
is
more
it.
time you spend with someone, the better you're going to be
What
able
do
to
you
know
consider
how they...
long term?
5 years. Well,
What about you? Bailey?
between the point where it's
Well,
short term to
that's-
long term, I think like at around the 4 or 5 year mark, it starts becoming long term.
I don't know. Well, it depends.
Yours is really high. What is yours, baby?
Yeah. I mean, long term for me would be like 1 to 2 years.
Yeah. Well, as I like
That's
to say,
normal.
wait,
Yeah.
Well, I kind of like to say when people are like, "Oh, we're going to get married," I'm like, "Wait 5 years. Wait 5 years," because that's long enough time to figure out if this person going to be right for you.
It's different for different people.
Yeah.
I mean, like I've
But
seen.
rather take your time.
Don't jump into marrying someone in 2 months, but like
Yeah, don't pull a military special.
You also maybe you don't need 2 years. Maybe you need 1 year. Maybe you need. I mean, it just depends on
Yeah.
the person.
But
and
if you're
the
not
situation.
sure, take your time. Take your time.
Yeah.
I think marriage is archaic as fuck.
Yeah.
Not in the cultural sense. In the legal sense.
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker, I don't need half your shit and you don't need half my shit. I worked for it.
Oh, you mean like the way it works, like with the state and stuff, basically.
Or, motherfucker, if I want to leave, I should be able to legally leave. People can contest divorces.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they can win it. If you just wake up one day and decide, hey, I don't want to be with her. You got to go to lawyers and shit. I think people should be like, look, I don't want to be with you anymore. That's just it. If you bought a house together, y'all split the house. That's fine. But if it's something you worked for or she worked for,
it gets complicated because like you financially become one.
See, I don't think people
bond your finances, and then that's where all the legal issues come from.
I think people shouldn't fucking combine into one financial entity. That's why marriage is archaic, because that's what marriage makes you do.
Yeah, just
maybe we can have another episode.
Yeah, just
on
split
this,
your bills and pay your own way. Do it Dutch.
That dick ain't free.
Oh my God. All right, this is a rabbit hole. I want to move on to the next subject.
I apologize.
Just as a quick, at least from what I know, love is chemical, hormonal, and stuff like that. But you kind of figured that, so we can go to the next one. It was Michael went on a tangent there.
Yeah.
What's enough for you to buy a ring?
Anyway, basically, what I was trying to get at, or question with the whole love thing, is basically where does it come from? In fact, why do emotions exist at all, if we really want to get existential? And then additionally, if the Bible claims that God is love, is the existence of love proof of God's existence? I'll go to David because it's stewing him. I can tell Michael's stewing.
I mean, emotions, it's kind of complicated because it's part like cultural, part like hormonal.
So you're saying emotions come from your culture?
Well, how we
I think emotions are a reaction to culture.
Well, how we like perceive stuff, and we tie that to kind of how we feel. Because like to some people, being happy over this, being sad over that.
Well, I'm talking about like an existential sense. Where do these things come from?
It's interesting because like some of it is like tied to hormones. Mm-hmm. Like in mice. And like it's also like in Animal Kingdom, you can see like some animals get really aggressive when certain seasons come and like their certain hormone levels rise and stuff like that. But just like with a lot of stuff, I'm not exactly sure where our emotions come from. I just know some of it ties into like hormones and certain things such as that. And I mean, that can be proven just by looking at like roid rage and some types of like drug interactions with the body. Because when you do certain things to your body, you're going to start reacting certain ways.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily set in stone.
And plus, emotions can come from communication.
Yeah.
What's the easiest way to communicate something? If something's good happening, you're happy. Something big coming up that nobody else knows.
The things you're describing, these are all reactions.
Yeah.
When you communicate and you receive that communication, you are reacting to it.
Yeah.
So that is a reaction. What I'm asking is, where do those feelings originate from? Where did they come from?
Like, you have no other humans.
I think we really have, like, when we boil it down in terms of worldviews, you have two options. Either you have God or evolution. Either it's ingrained through evolution, or it is a sign from God, basically. Because if the Bible claims that God is love, then we are reflecting
God would
that.
be the source of all emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And
do you believe animals have emotions and can perceive emotions?
I do, but not to the degree that humans experience.
Do you think they have a more
This is kind of like
range?
We talked about this, I think, with what episode? It was like Origins of the Universe or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was consciousness.
I think you and I talked about this.
We mentioned it in consciousness that like other animals like
have limited ranges of like different consciousness.
Yeah, and same
it
thing with
varies.
emotions, but like it's not to the level that
because
humans
I mean, as we've said before in the previous episode, if you haven't listened to it, listen to it. That like some animals, we have been able to see them react in certain ways and use like tools and other things that would trigger us. Well, tell us like, yeah, have some sort of intelligence, but it's not to the
It's not comparable
Yeah.
to humanity.
It was comparable in some senses, but it's lacking. And like so I guess the same thing could be said with emotions. Like some animals, like when someone, like elephants, when one of theirs dies, they will grieve over that.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to me like some type of emotion. Now, do they have the same range? No.
Yeah, no.
From what we
definitely not.
know, no. Unless, like, we can be able to kind of see that they do.
Yeah.
So, where do, that sounded weird. So, where do you believe emotions come from?
Emotions? Or... I mean, like, it... Okay, so... Are we talking about, like, emotions or love, specifically? Or both?
Emotions, because love is an emotion.
True. Well, I mean, love is, like we mentioned before, I think it's a combination of emotions.
It's a concept.
Combination of emotions and can be a state of being at the moment.
Yeah, I mean...
But isn't that related to emotions, since they're all hormonal?
Yeah.
I know I'm being a stickler here.
So, to me,
No, that's fine. I mean,
But-
when this is why I was asking, like, if you were referring to love, because I believe if God is love and we are created in God's image, that just kind of follows that we reflect that part of God. So when it comes to other emotions, I think, I mean, like I said, love is multiple emotions, but that's not all of our emotions.
Yeah.
So I think our other emotions are just part of the human condition, which that is, I mean, that's part of being human, is experiencing
Yeah.
emotion to the level we do, but being human is, I mean, that traces back to God. So indirectly, you could say it comes
yeah,
from
because
God.
I was about to ask, like, because as you said, God is essentially is love.
Mm-hmm.
And I was about to ask, well, what about like the negative emotions we feel? Where would that come from? Because I have heard from some people, they think like the good old snaky boy.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Good name.
Actually, I see where you're going with this. Are there such thing as negative emotions?
I'd say hate.
Yeah,
hate's, yeah.
Vengeful.
hate, anger, stress, things that negatively affect us, like mentally, physically, and stuff like that. I
Well,
would perceive as
I
negative.
want to push you on this because this is something I learned kind of in one of my psychology courses. Is we in America tend to perceive good things as good. Good things feel good. That must be good. Everything we do, like, this is why we have addictions, is because
Yeah,
we're
a positive reinforcement loop.
Yeah, so everything that we think is good is necessarily good, and everything that we feel is bad is necessarily bad. But if you're angry, if you're resentful, or if you're hurt, or if you're sad, these are reactions, and you are going to react appropriately to your scenario, hopefully. But these are emotions are like a compass for what you should do with those things. Like, they're always, like, if you didn't feel pain, you would be in trouble.
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, like, most emotions that you experience are a reaction to something else that inform how you ought to act. So I don't think there's such thing as negative emotions like we think of it. Now, obviously, there's hate. Hate is not derivative of God's nature. So, yeah, anyway, that was a tangent.
Where would you place like stress? Like the kind of emotional state of being stressed.
Like, as it's good or bad, or what? What do you mean?
Yeah. Would you play well?
Hot, cold, yes, no.
Because
I
it's
mean, I
kind
don't
of,
like being stressed, but it's just
not
a result of-
necessarily a good or bad thing until it becomes an extreme.
It's not, well, it can, okay.
Because it, and also, like, as I said, like, for me, stress would be more negative because it does have health impacts and mental impacts.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you talking about stress or anxiety? Or do they tie together?
Stress. Anxiety is separate, though they do tend to mix together for a lot of people. because it's kind of like that in between where it's not necessarily one or the other.
Yeah, it depends on who you are. For me, I handle stress fairly well. I don't get stressed out a lot. Other people are easily stressed out, and
Right
it
here.
causes problems for them.
Yeah.
So,
and
I mean,
like looking at different cultures with heavy work culture involved, a lot of stress leads to decreased birth rates, decreased like relationships, suicide rates increasing.
yeah, I mean, I'm not downplaying that.
Yeah.
You just have to learn how to manage stress.
Yeah, and I think as kind of ties into like emotion, how we see emotions depends on kind of our culture as well.
Saying there's no negative emotions, what about people who are chemically imbalanced? Say depressive, bipolar.
Well, what are those feelings telling you?
Shit
yourself.
sucks, kill yourself.
I wouldn't follow that logic, but I would say...
I very well,
Well, I mean,
do.
if you are in that state, if you are depressed, that's something telling you something's not right, and you need to do something to fix that. Now, what you do with that, you can go a dark route with that, or you can actually get help.
But in time,
So I mean, like, I'm not saying
as the only human, it's just you in this void with
boy.
these emotions,
uh-huh.
and you just happen to be a person born chemically imbalanced, and so your brain's like, yeah, just fucking life sucks, nothing matters,
You're in this void.
kill yourself. What would you do to fix that? When that's how your brain's wired.
That's a strange hypothetical that...
But all emotions can be separated with just a person. In a void, emotions are still there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether other people are or not. Doesn't matter. Emotions are still there. And they can be even stronger.
Yeah.
Well, they tend to be stronger in isolation.
So that's why I say emotions are... I'm still not sure on the evolution versus God thing. That one's a tricky... You gotta really think about it.
And it could be
But-
a mixture.
There are good and bad emotions, and where they come from doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some things, when set in a certain light, can seem negative, like a vengeful God. In a certain light you paint it is how it is.
Right.
It doesn't mean that God's a dick. It just means don't fuck with him. Essentially.
Sure.
I mean, the devil learned that the hard way.
Yeah, got sent right to hell. First class ticket. First person
Had to make hell.
VIP entrance.
All right. Well, we keep getting on rabbit trails. I wanted to come back to the basically, if the Bible says that God is love, what does it mean for God to literally be love? Have you thought about that?
Yeah. It would mean that the positive essence of himself that he puts forth,
The life bearing.
like when he brought Jesus into the world as an embodiment of him, for lack of better terms. I'm not sure of how everyone would put it,
I get what you're saying.
but when he showed compassion, wanted to help, tried to pave a new way, and show all these things to show that he cared, that's an embodiment of a higher power loving you, if that is the embodiment of the higher power. Or if you're created in his image, you being able to feel those types of connections to your spiritual side or your loved ones or your wife or kids or anything, that in itself as a creation of him, especially if you have that connection to him, would show that he is the embodiment of love.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. For me, because like I heard that was one of those things that like I just heard in church and never really thought about. But then when I thought about it, I was like, it really hit me because I was like, basically, we experience love because we are created in God's image, and God is love. And basically, if God weren't love, we wouldn't love. Like, love wouldn't exist.
Yeah. It's all about that kind of care and like, no matter what happens, you care about them. Kind of like a child or a puppy.
But I
Like, they're
see
going-
how our two tie in together.
Yeah. Like, they're going to mess up, but no matter what, you care about them, you want to steer them the right way.
Yeah. So, I think...
We're real quick. We're God's crotch demons.
What? Where'd you hear that
We're the
one?
fruit of his loins.
Oh, okay.
We're his children.
All right. Well, please never say that again.
Crotch goblins.
That's my favorite way to
I'm sorry if
ask
this.
people about their kids.
This is a special episode.
I'm sorry if this episode's a train wreck. We're a little rusty,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
but
fine.
fuck it.
So, to come back on David with his evolution, solving everything.
It does not solve everything. We've been through this.
I know. I just want to harass you.
Oh, I know.
So, if emotions only serve an evolutionary purpose, how is love authentic? So, for example, if Michael claims to be in love with his girlfriend, but he believes in his heart that love is just a chemical reaction in the brain that is beneficial for our survival, how will that affect him? How will that affect her? It becomes no longer authentic, and it's certainly not romantic. Beyond that, people just don't act like love is an illusion. They act like it's really real, like they're really experiencing it.
Well,
Real quick.
even if it's chemical, it would still be authentic to us because we are experiencing it. It is...
But we don't think about it like, oh, well, my brain's just producing this chemical.
Well, no, because we're not evolutionary. That would be detrimental if we all just are like, oh, the chemicals going in my brain. I really want to be with this person and mate with them for life. That would be kind of not beneficial, as it would just be like, oh, well, I don't want this. Never mind. So it's not necessarily our brain playing an illusion, but it's us kind of not having that introspective thoughts at that moment. Now, like, when a researcher looks into this and figures out, oh, these chemicals go off and whatnot, they're viewing it in a different lens than the person actually experiencing said love.
Right.
So it's kind of that perception, because, like, to me, when I fall in love with someone, I don't think, oh yeah, my brain chemicals are all happy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh yeah, I care about this person. And it's something, at some point, you don't necessarily, you tend not to think about it,
Mm-hmm.
and you just really don't care. At least in my eyes, because, yeah, to me, it is very much a chemical reaction, but heck, there's beauty in that chemical reaction, that fine machine that's my brain and my GI tract, because some serotonin is produced there, just working its wonders and helping me find my way.
What were you going to say, Michael?
Real quick, you made that sound very beautiful at the end. Good
Yeah.
job on that. But if I wasn't here, I'd be a good example.
Uh-huh.
But since I'm here, I'm a terrible example. My relationship is beneficial extremely to me.
Uh-huh.
And I do lay there and just go, fuck, man, this could all just be chemicals in my brain. Damn, shit's crazy.
I mean, when you do think about it, it is wild.
And it's like,
It's so abstract to us to think about stuff like that.
I believe I love you, but, brains are weird, dude.
Yeah, I feel like if you believe emotions only serve an evolutionary purpose, that's kind of believe that they're pointless and arbitrary, because if you were aware of that,
Yeah.
then, like, what's the point?
Yeah, but I mean, screw pointless and arbitrary at that point.
But it's because that's an impractical way to live, because, like, you're not thinking that way, and you don't live that way. Nobody lives like, oh, well, I'm only
Yeah.
you know, married to this person for 30 years
Well-
because my brain happened to have a chemical
Yeah,
reaction.
that's being hyper analytical about it as well.
But that's what evolution's saying all it
Yeah,
is. That's all it boils
but
down to.
most
is
people
what they're
don't
saying.
live hyper analytical. Most people don't even think about this stuff we're talking about.
That's why I'm drawing it
Yeah.
out.
People who are addicted to something and are aware of it live that way.
Yeah.
You know this chemical is going to create this certain reaction in your brain and you're going to enjoy it. Whether or not in the grand scheme you're enjoying it, that's how you're living in that moment.
Well, if you become aware, this is a complete sidebar, but if you become aware of, like, being, you know, if you become aware of something being addicting, I think that's the first step to not being addicted. If you want to quit.
A lot of addicts are very aware that they are addicted because there's symptoms when you don't do it anymore.
But there are a lot of people that you can see as an outsider, like you are clearly addicted to this thing, and they don't see it.
Yeah, they're oblivious to
Yeah.
the fact.
But
Because, I mean, it's either A, a good coping mechanism, like to a toxic effect, or B, they don't care.
see, the first time that person goes without that one thing, whether it's a cigarette, a game, drugs, that's when they become so fucking aware.
Mm-hmm.
When you go, damn, I need to light this bit of plant matter on fire to send a chemical that's not even going to give me a buzz so I feel okay.
Yeah.
So people do live that way, and it's kind of fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And like in my eyes, even when I do have like those hyper analytical moments, I still see our other topic, the beauty in kind of how everything works and what's happening, because it's not necessarily in my control, because it's, as I like to put, in the kind of, as I like to call it, the lizard brain, which it's not the lizard brain, but I say that because it makes people mad. That kind of fight or flight area.
Yeah, I guess just in conclusion, before we head into the second half of this, is my argument here is that love seems to be a transcendent experience that we can all partake in, because it's a very real experience that's more than monkey do this to survive, monkey brain do this to survive. You know, we do extremely irrational things when we're in love or out of love for another person, like jumping in front of a car or moving halfway across the world, things that would normally threaten our survival. So how could the primary purpose of love be to promote survival when we do things that endanger our survival when we're in love?
And I don't think it's necessarily our survival, but our kind of future generation survival. And now,
well, what if you jump in front of a car before you have kids?
Well, you were trying to fuck and make a baby, maybe you did fuck.
And
to fall out of love.
That's also something.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's
it's
a
like,
super modern kind of occurrence.
Well, people have been killing themselves for years.
Well, yeah, but you know, like jumping from a car.
But I mean,
we haven't had. Well, in evolution, there hasn't been enough time between like in modernization in which to properly evolve to be like, oh yeah, don't jump in front of that car to save
I'm talking
that
about like
person.
doing stupid things that are generally painful or bad for you out of love. That people have been doing that forever.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I mean, the car example is just that's a modern example because cars are modern. But
real quick, the extreme doesn't have to be bad either. Some people do some fucking amazing stuff when they get broken up with or they fall in love. Like, oh, I'm gonna start exercising, get in shape. Oh, I'm gonna stop smoking. Oh, I'm gonna
Taylor Swift makes a new album.
Oh, I'm gonna stop being a shitty person.
Yeah,
So
that's true too.
The extremes don't have to be necessarily negative.
Well, what I'm getting at with it being negative is it's contradictory to it benefiting our survival.
Yeah.
So that seems to go against evolutionary theory. If love is there to promote survival, why would we do things that endanger our survival out of love?
Or it just hasn't worked out the kinks yet.
Yeah, evolution is not a perfect idea. As I said in the evolution video, it's like just throwing darts on the wall and seeing what sticks.
And what doesn't kill itself.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't kill itself for long enough.
I mean, that's why we gotta have two people back in the day to raise a baby so the fucker ain't kill itself. Tying it all the way around.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right, you ready to hit what beauty is?
we're gonna hit what beauty is. What?
Ooh, girl.
What is beauty? I think we can agree that it is a subjective perception, but is that all that it is? So I want to ask you guys, what is beauty? How would you define the term?
I'm not quite sure myself, but kind of in my eyes, like as I was saying, it depends on the subject matter. Because like when I'm thinking about stuff going off in my brain or kind of complex things, it's the beauty of the mechanism working. It's the beauty of how things go. Where like a person, beauty is kind of features action. Well, I guess you can say the mechanism of kind of how everything works together in such kind of a either imperfect or perfect way. And it, as you said, it is subjective because different cultures have different perspectives of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end, I think it's what your brain feels like would be most compatible with you. So at a glance, if you're just out in public and you're thinking of beauty, you see a girl with a nice shapely figure, some thigh, but still look kind of fit, your brain's like, damn, girl. And to you, that's going to be beauty in a moment.
Uh-huh.
Or you walk in a store and you see a picture of like a supermodel in this fucking nice fit. You're like, damn, she's beautiful.
We're getting a peek into Michael's brain right now.
But
Yep.
when you sit down and talk with that person, that's also where beauty's contrived from, is the actual person. Because you could be hot as fuck. I mean,
It'd be a,
fucking
extremely
dime
boring.
piece. But if you annoy the fuck out of me,
yeah.
it's fucking over.
Or
But we can fuck, but like, I'm not going to call you.
or if your worldview's different
Yeah.
to like a dramatic extent, or if,
Depends
like
how fat that ass is.
Oh, boy. All right. Well,
But beauty is,
it's subjective.
it is built by what's compatible with you and by what your body and your little lizard brain finds will make a baby that'll live and that you, a person that you can live with.
so it's your subconscious saying like, yeah, do
and,
it.
And it's your dick going like, yeah, do it.
I don't even know how to respond to you.
I mean,
But what
you want
what,
my
do you,
honest fucking answers?
No, it's
what
fine.
do you perceive as beauty?
I was not going that direction. But, I mean, like, I was going to say, like,
Titties, thighs, and ass. And a pretty face.
please stop. I was going to say, like, you know, not, I mean, yes, like, people can be beautiful, but also that can apply to, like,
Nature.
nature or the inward or outward appearances of another person. So I mean, like there's different ways that we can perceive beauty. It doesn't have to be just
Yeah.
people.
That's
it can
why-
be
But beauty is mainly compatible. You find music beautiful that you enjoy.
yeah,
You find places beautiful that you see yourself in.
yeah.
I don't know. People find like music they don't necessarily enjoy as beautiful.
All right, if you find something beautiful, you found some enjoyment in it. I don't want to hear that bullshit. It's like simulation theory. Don't get me started.
No.
But beauty is compatibility.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
That's why I gave my kind of my answer, even as kind of broad it is, because beauty isn't just how you see another person. We perceive beauty in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So I guess the next question would be, why do we perceive things as beautiful? Why is beauty a subjective experience, and where does this perception come from?
Beauty, we see it because it's compatible.
And this is, by the way, why these two topics are very related. So that's why I'm talking about them in the same episode.
I guess to go a little more in depth with like Michael, like we see like a nice, calm river on a near a nice mountain is like beautiful, because in his eyes, like, yeah, you could make a nice little life there. Maybe build you a nice little cabin with your beautiful looking wife. Make some maybe beautiful kids.
Yeah, Bailey's gonna have a hot wife.
With the beautiful
I'd
little
take
birds
it.
and stuff flying, making the ecosystem all good with the beautiful little woodland critters. So I guess like it does kind of Michael's does kind of make sense in that way.
And we see it.
Though we also the one thing like beauty and abstract things like abstract art and stuff. That's another thing. Why do we perceive beauty in that?
Because beauty is subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I find beautiful in a girl, you might not find beautiful. What I find beautiful about nature, music, I know Bailey damn sure doesn't find beautiful half the time.
Sometimes.
Saw the Baby Black Harlow, beautiful, fucking beautiful track. Bailey's not a big fan, but that's okay because we all perceive things differently. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for Bailey. Same with religion.
Mamma mia.
Boom, meta commentary. Wow. But I think that's why it's absolutely subjective.
Sidebar, is religion subjective? Do you perceive it as subjective?
A lot of people perceive it as subjective.
I don't fucking know. Don't ask me these important
That's
questions.
a dodge. That's a dodge.
I'm an agnostic
It's
theist.
okay.
I don't know shit.
It's okay.
I'm Dr. Pepper, motherfucker. You're root beer and he's cola.
I'm Sprite, sir.
So, what? Okay, I'm gonna ask the questions again, and you can recap your answers because I got lost. Why do we perceive things as beautiful?
Because they're compatible with us.
Okay. Why is beauty a subjective experience?
Because what's compatible for me ain't compatible for you.
And where does this perception come from?
Inert long-term survival and enjoyment and fulfillment. And that ties everything, whether it's spiritual, material, biological, ties in all of it.
All right, I'm going to ask the same questions to David, and I think you probably answered them more directly than Michael, because Michael goes all over the place.
I don't
But
necess-
why do we perceive things as beautiful?
Well, I don't necessarily have an answer, but Michael, it does sound
Michael's answers yours.
yeah,
basically.
kind of, and because I kind of went more in depth with like the ideas with like the nice little scenic scape.
You were more broad, and he was more specific about it, basically.
Well, I went more into specifics on him,
Uh-huh.
his kind of idea, and how like real world that could be in effect, because it's not something I necessarily have doubt a lot about.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it is subjective, it's just like it happens. It's not, and it's not necessarily something we can really track in the brain. And beauty, as like I said, is very cultural, so it varies from culture to culture on even the broad definition of beauty.
Yeah. So
It's a tricky thing.
yeah, I was gonna say I think our perception of beauty is kind of just part of the uniqueness of being human. Kind of like the subjective experience of beauty is what makes you a unique human being. So I mean, like, what you experience as or perceive as beauty is not necessarily the same as what I would perceive as beauty. And you know, like David was kind of mentioning, like when any attempt that people try and make to make a beauty objective, like most attractive man of the year or most attractive woman of the year,
fails miserably.
it fails miserably, but like to some degree we can see where they're coming from, but you cannot objectify that in the sense that everyone agrees that this is objectively.
We can see it based on like cultures or like in general, muscular men are beautiful.
But that comes off as contrived because that's not always everyone's
Yeah,
personal
it's not
preference.
everyone's preference, but it is. It has heavy like representation in certain cultures.
I mean, that's like you can look at someone like, hey, they're pretty hot. not my type, but they're hot.
And then I'm like,
That
10 out of
doesn't mean
10
they're
would smash.
beautiful. That
You can get where
I think people get
you can
those
see you can like.
confused.
Sorry, I was about to throw up. Apparently, you can like kind of separate yourself. Like, yeah, I see why.
Yeah.
Someone would consider this person attractive, but
They're not beautiful.
they're not attractive to me.
Yeah,
They're not singularly. This is what beauty looks like, because there's no way to be like this is what it looks like,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can't do that.
It varies person to person.
and it's all biased.
Yeah,
It's part of the human experience, and by God, the whatever mechanism is beautiful.
Oh, so there's a God, atheist.
he admits it. Episode 10, David believes in God.
No.
Episode 11. Welcome the new atheist.
Yeah, his name's John.
Yeah. So I guess like my only like criticism for like if beauty served an evolutionary purpose is why would we have a deep enjoyment of music or video games or movies, because they don't help our survival. It's just mental stimuli. So it's kind of just arbitrary and pointless. If beauty is really pointless and it's instinctive to perceive beauty, why is it would be unintuitive to reject that perception? That might have been a really confusing statement.
Yeah.
But
And like with music, there have like when you listen to like recreation like old tribal music, the emotions it causes or it can like stir up create something. So I think it would be more for like more abstract stuff
yeah.
and like the beauty of the abstract, because it could be said like those have some type of beauty, but like music is very primitive in its emotional aspect, but it also ties into beauty because some tracks are just goddamn beautiful.
But in the broad term of music, it's all used as some sort of way to communicate something to the listener.
Right.
So
Yeah, art's all
whether
about
or not it's
communication.
beautiful doesn't matter.
That may not be what it's intended to convey.
You might find it
You
beautiful.
could be watching a horror movie and it's
and you're just laughing.
not meant to convey something beautiful. But I get where you're going.
I might think one song's beautiful. You might be like, eh.
But it's
it's
communication in a different form.
At its pure form, music is just communication, whether it's through expression or, hey, I'm talking to you type of communication, interpersonal.
Yeah.
Same with writing.
Yeah, I think for like a lot of it, we've just, over time, as like music became more and more complicated, we've kind of taken that complication and things that sound nice to us, which is a whole different topic, into like an aspect of beauty. And I guess you can say the same with like the written arts, the physical arts, because it's all about conveying a message.
Yeah.
The ancient paintings on caves were meant to paint a message, like usually like a hedonist, or like, hey, we did this. We caught a big buffalo or whatever.
So like
So they're effective without the beauty aspect.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just over time as we became like more descriptive, I guess you can say, and more intricate with how we communicate.
So I guess the question I was going to ask you guys before we wrap up here is, I mean, would you agree that beauty, in terms of like if we're going purely evolutionary, it's kind of pointless. It doesn't really serve an evolutionary purpose.
Yeah, it would have to be like something that somehow wound up in the evolutionary chain that hasn't had a major negative effect to the point of like near extinction, because it
doesn't help your survival.
and it's such an abstract thing.
It's arbitrary.
Yeah.
See, I would disagree with the survival part, because
Are you going to try and tell me that if I were in an ancient culture that liked rap music and I didn't like rap music, that I would just die like you did that one time?
no, No, what I'm going to say is, when looking, we have more time than we ever have to sit here and analyze all this stuff, and to actually think about it, and not just do. We don't have to hunt. Yeah, we work a job we probably hate, but 8 hours versus constant survival, I'll take it. Fucking take it. And I get 2 days off a week. Fuck yeah, dude. But beauty is a desired trait due to it enhancing our survival. We look
How?
because we look at certain things in a woman or a man that goes, hey, that's hot. My brain thinks that's beautiful. Because,
But you could just as well survive without that, because if you just
but then
doesn't matter.
I'm
if
talking
they're
in the terms
beautiful.
of evolution. We make things beautiful because they're effective as creatures. You know why we stand up?
Because we,
To put,
I don't know.
we
'cause
stand
have
up.
Feet. Where's it going? Why do we stand up, Michael? Tell me.
God,
But to reveal the secrets
oh,
of the
my
world.
brain just went
It's
blank.
something like increases endurance, allows us to track longer distances.
There's different
Increases
answers.
endurance, and that therefore created how we raise children. Because to be born, you can't balance yourself with just two. Most other animals can come out fucking standing on their own.
Well, we're
So-
also heavily underdeveloped at
Yeah.
that point.
But we look for certain traits like strong muscles.
Or opposite.
In ancient times, if you were a heavy set person, we found that beautiful because that meant you had food, motherfucker. And you had plenty of it.
Or, like, one thing people have noticed is we tend to go for opposite traits, like different facial
Complementary
features.
traits. Yeah.
Not necessarily complementary, but something
Oh.
kind of like opposite of us to keep away from turning the kind of family tree
into
the-
a family shrub.
yeah,
So you don't bang your sister
yeah.
or your cousin or any other
But
family
then
member.
other stuff like blood purity and stuff messed that up in like ancient cultures and even today.
All right, but before we continue on this, I believe beauty has a evolutionary purpose, but also there could be more to it. But I believe it has a purpose. There's
So-
a reason we see things as beautiful.
So it was originally like brought in
Survival.
survival, and then it's kind of
But-
the finer details
Oh,
of
you have
But
bo-
how
you have
would
bo-
it be survival? Because, like, I mean, you
Oh.
used the example of you found someone attractive, so you take them as a mate, for example. But couldn't it just as equally be the same as
Or you
we
take-
don't perceive someone as beautiful, and because we don't perceive beauty, but you still find a mate? I don't think beauty necessarily contributes to that.
But if you look at any creature, you can see all sorts of mating things to be viewed as the most attractive.
yeah, like peacocks.
And by doing that, you would show a lot of traits
Or
that would make you a better suited mate. So therefore, to continue your bloodline and your fucking species bloodline,
you better have the nicest peacock feathers out there.
or the biggest boobs, or the most muscle.
What about with, like, art and music and stuff like that?
Just communication. A bird can sing a beautiful fucking song, but it don't mean shit.
Because we ain't birds.
Because we're not birds, because it's not meant for us. It's not communicating to us. We can view it as beautiful for greater purposes, meta purposes.
Or we can
Yeah.
take the emotion behind like a animal wailing or screaming as like something's wrong.
but it's just
But
communicating.
if I go to the movies and see a new Iron Man, how is that going to help me evolve? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that was formed through... It's all a way to communicate some story. Whether or not that has any greater purpose to us, entertainment is nothing but communication.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I'm fucking Iron Man. In this universe, I'm invincible.
It's like
I
looking
have
at,
fuck you money.
it's because something like superhero films are like more so like modern day, kind of like the hero fables and stuff like that.
Be a hero.
Yeah. It could be as simple as that message.
This man is looked at in great regard because he was, first and foremost, a hero, and second, very rich. So
And also
therefore,
his
he's fucking attractive.
And also, his actor had a glow up from hell.
yeah.
I mean,
Robert
he
Downey
was,
Jr., handsome motherfucker.
and he was like a homeless drug addict.
He started doing drugs at 8.
This is a rabbit trail. All right.
You brought up love and beauty, the two most contrived, abstract ideas.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, besides consciousness is up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the good news is this is
But-
the last existential episode.
I love existential.
Well, I mean, we might have more in the future, but
Ask
for
us
now.
existential questions so we can do a fucking Q&A.
yeah, we'll do an existential Q&A.
Or just a Q&A in general.
Yeah.
Send us some beautiful questions. You might get them answered now. We might save some for later. You never know.
You never know.
At Beyond.
We might just grab a pigeon, tape our answer to its little ankle, and just let it fly to you.
And
Mike
hope it makes it
Tyson.
there.
It might.
All right. Well, I guess to kind of wrap this up and conclude it, I believe that like these intense experiences of love and beauty are not just a product of evolution, though they may serve an evolutionary purpose. I don't believe that's all there is to them. I think they're clear signs that mirror the quality of the qualities of the Christian God. So, for example, if the Bible says that we are made in the image of God and that God is love, when we perceive beauty and experience love, these experiences remind us that God values those perceptions because they are a reflection of His own nature. For Christians, the experience of love is a gift from God because God is love. When we love, we are literally sharing in His essence. And without God, there would be no love. That was a long-winded way of saying what I was slowly saying.
Yeah.
The
So
whole
basically, innately, beauty is something that comes from God. Innately, love and our emotions come from God.
yeah, basically.
And that they might serve in our purpose, or God might have placed them like.
If we want to go the theistic evolution route, like it could be both.
Yeah, because
Like it could be like because it is part of God's nature, but it also could serve an evolutionary
Yeah.
purpose. So I mean, if you go that route, you can kind of
you
it's
can
a
have
win-win.
one, the other, or
It's by
both.
purpose.
Yeah.
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 I mean, and that makes sense for either deistic or theistic evolution viewpoints. Because I mean, something so abstract. If you believe in a higher power, I couldn't see why you wouldn't at least attribute some of that to the higher power.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's such a crazy thing.
I mean, there's ways to. There's fucking plenty of people who do, but I get where you're coming from. It's not that they do, but it's fucking why they do.
What do you mean? I'm not
Just
trying
be-
to go on another rabbit trail, but like
Just because-
I'm trying to get you to be more specific when you say like
Okay.
they and
Just
stuff like that.
because if I'm a person and I believe in the Judeo-Christian God,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't believe that beauty comes from God, I can see that there are people that think that way, but it's hard for me to wrap my head around that.
Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
because
But there
it's
are
such
people
an
who do
abstract
it.
idea.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Okay.
Or really any God, but you know, we're all good buddies here. Except
Yeah.
David. Fuck David.
I love you guys.
David's actually probably the nicest out of all of us. Me and Michael were pretty big assholes. to
Well,
be
I
honest.
don't have anything to look forward to in the end, so I didn't make it count.
And we're
That's
just
what it is.
we're just running up these Twitter fingers. Like we're just talking shit to talk shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Do you have any other thoughts before we wrap up? Any other concluding thoughts on love
Whatever
and
you
beauty?
believe in love, just experience it. Don't think too much about it until you got some time alone.
But I, do
think
need
you
that.
should think more about it because then it might.
Well, when you
make
have time alone to sit and like you know, like the old man in his study just thinking about stuff,
I do.
You know,
I
good
have these
book.
feelings.
experiencing it.
I have a question for the viewers.
All right.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. But what is love? Ask yourself that.
Ask yourself.
Find out why you think that way. And tell us about it.
Seeking your soul.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, what is love? What
And-
do you believe?
And tell us, what is love to you?
And tell us, what is love to you? I'm just repeating what Michael said.
Is it like opening a jar of cookie dough and knowing you can eat the whole fucker yourself? Or is it looking in the eyes of your child?
How the fuck is that love?
Bro, chocolate chip cookie dough is fucking
I
slapping.
should have known you were going there.
Especially,
I should have
especially if
laterally
they put like
seen-
some Reese's peanut butter in that motherfucker. Ooh!
I mean, to make cookie dough you can eat without worrying about getting sick.
But tell us, what do you think
Yeah,
love
tell
is?
us what you think love is. And you can do that on our social media at Facing the Gates,
And what beauty
Facebook,
is.
Twitter, and Instagram. And what is beauty? How do you
Because
perceive beauty?
I think beauty is kind of more abstract.
that is more abstract.
Yeah,
I am beauty.
I beg to differ.
Somebody, if you guys are listening to this on your, on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please unlock your phone, look at the profile art of this show, and look at Michael as he says that, and then tell us how it makes you feel.
I am beauty.
Yeah.
There, so you don't have to go back.
You can also email us at facingthegatespod@gmail.com if you have comments or questions or any of that jazz.
Hell yeah.
Like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube.
Hell yeah.
If you're not, give us a rating of 5 stars.
Or, whatever you feel like.
This one was definitely like 2 stars, honestly.
I give it 2.5.
It was
All right,
it
2.5.
was a wild ride.
It was kind of disorganized.
If you just like a bunch of grown dudes sitting here blabbing
Having
their
existential
cocksuckers to each
conversations.
other, yeah,
Yeah.
then you'll think this was pretty fucking great.
Yeah. Or you'll be like, this is just a discombobulated hot mess, and they're all talking about different things and going opposite directions, and this is not a cohesive conversation.
And that guy,
But-
David, he's a fucking atheist.
Yeah, yeah.
Michael gets on tangents.
you can
too
also-
much.
You can also go on social media and roast David. # roast David. Send
Yeah.
us your best roast on David, and we'll let him know.
I want
Yeah,
to
I
bring
love
up
you guys. So roast me hard.
Yeah.
Roast Bailey also. I want to see that right up under Roast David on Twitter. Like, I need a
I think
lot of tweets.
I think Michael's gonna be the second easily most roasted. We should all
Yeah,
be
yeah.
roasted.
Roast,
Just
roast
all
Michael.
Of us.
Yeah,
To be
roast,
honest,
roast
just
facing the gates.
roast us.
yeah, roast facing the gates. I need people to rip me a new asshole. But
And
before
with
we get
that-
on any more tangents, and people decide to not listen to us.
Yeah, we need to end this episode.
Let's end it.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't know how you managed to get through all that, but
I don't either.
great for you. You are a trooper.
I'm so sorry.
We love you, and we hope you tune in next time.
Yeah, next time we're gonna do a reflections episode. We're gonna look back on all these arguments for God's existence and kind of reflect on them, I guess. See what our final conclusions are. See if anything's changed since we started and whatnot, and then we'll be moving on to something new.
Sounds good.
Mamma mia! Thanks for listening.
Love you
Luigi's
guys.
the best Luigi.
I love you.
I love you too.
Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.